Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu. جزاك. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على أشرف الأنبياء المرسلين وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين. أما بعد. Jazakumullah khairan, everyone. Welcome to our next session. And just give me a moment. Okay, alhamdulillah. Our next session is titled Spiritual Depression. Allah is always with you. We know that people, through the turmoils of life and the difficulties that accompany it, sometimes have a hard time navigating things without feeling down. Is that clinical depression? Is that spiritual depression? Is it somewhere in between the two? Today we have a guest speaker, our brother Dr. AbdulAziz Syed, who's no stranger to this community. He worked at MCC Academy for, I believe it was 7 years prior to starting his own practice. He's a licensed clinical social worker, and he's a certified addictions therapist. He has a Master of Social Work and now a doctorate as well, alhamdulillah, as of last year from Governor State University. He was previously employed at Khalil Center and at MCC Academy, but has now, alhamdulillah, started his own practice as well. And we are always happy to see him come back and continue to present to us in our community. With that, I'm going to turn the microphone over to him. I know they're trying to just work out some things with the presentation on the screen, but inshallah, in that point, he can still start, or whatever he's comfortable with, inshallah.
Okay. All right, can everybody hear me? All right. Assalamu alaikum, everyone. As we get started, of course, customarily is the practice of those of you who can, the able-bodied ones, those of you who are differently abled or afraid, but please come on close. I would like to, of course, preferably sit on the floor, but with you guys, but table's fine too. Okay, that's good. Thank you all. All right. So this is a small group, so inshallah, I'll do my best to make this as applicable as possible. Inshallah. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على رسول النبي الكريم. All right, so as Sheikh Syed, graciously mentioned, I have not missed these drives to MCC Academy. I was working here for a while, and definitely good to see a lot of familiar faces and a lot of new ones. My purpose for today. And by the way, if Sheikh Syed's here, I don't know, how much time do I have so I can pace myself? Whenever, I think he's just stepped out, so I'll keep that in mind. So what time is Maghrib here? 6:20, so I have till 6:05, so around 45 minutes. So the agenda for today, inshallah, is to give a brief overview of what we'll be talking about today, the difference between spiritual and clinical depression, a holistic kind of way back to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and then leaving some room for Q&A, inshallah. Of course, my introduction is done, but I would like to know a little bit about all of you. How many of you are in middle school? Got a middle schooler, okay. How many of you are in high school? Got a bunch, front and center, mashallah. And a few of you in the back there as well. How many of you are in college? Any college folks? MashaAllah, MVP over there for the college. You're representing all the college folks today. Young adults, working professionals, within 23 to 28, 29, okay. Above the age of 40. Okay, MashaAllah. Parents. Okay, married folk. Okay, so parents. So a little mix of pretty much all ages. Just a heads up that some of the things I will be talking about will be of sensitive nature, so if you are not in high school, just be mindful of it, inshallah. I want to start off with a story. So some of you may know this, and some of you may not. My primary specialty is sex addiction and pornography addiction, where people have developed an unhealthy, when we talk about addiction or compulsive behavior, really that the person has developed this compulsive, this unhealthy relationship with an object or a behavior. So for example, when we have, a food addiction, it's like, oh man, I know I shouldn't be eating so much, but I can't stop myself. Or that, pornography or sex, like I have this relationship with this thing that I can't stop doing even though I know it's bad for me. Social media, internet, you name it, right? Alcohol, drug, so on and so forth. So one of the things that I do is that's what I deal with. And when I work with clients who come and talk to me, one of the first things they say is like, I've been struggling with this for so long, and I've been struggling in isolation. I haven't really been able to talk to anyone about it. Don't know what to do about it. I've been praying a lot. I've been fasting a lot. I'm staying away from things, but I just can't seem to solve the problem. And I usually ask them a pretty innocent question. It's like, well, do you understand what's going on with you? Do you know what's going on? I actually spoke to someone a few days ago. He had posed, since it's the brothers only question session, so I can be a little bit more unfiltered here with all of you. He asked me the question, well, how do I know that one woman is enough for me? Maybe I just have like a high sex drive or something. I need more than one person. And I prompted the question, and I asked him, well, what's wrong with leaving the behavior that you're doing? Like, you're assuming that this is something you need in your life, right? And then because of that, you're like, oh, I need to be able to marry more than one person, because in his mind, he was in a relationship previously, but he could not be faithful. He kept cheating on his significant other. So in his mind, instead of thinking, hey, I have a problem with this behavior, he thought, oh, one woman isn't enough for me. So point being, I ask clients like, hey, why do you think you're doing what you're doing? And typically they're like, I'm single, I'm not married. Although it's interesting, when I work with the married folks, they tell me, please tell your single client, marriage will not solve this problem. So heads up for those of you who are single, that, again, addictive behavior, meaning not like you're engaged in it once or twice, it's something you keep going back to. So the idea being that we need to be able to face the problem and know what's exactly going on with us. And when we do, that's when we can deal with it properly. So far, so good? Okay. Now, I want to do a little bit of exercise. So I want to hear some responses from everybody. So when we think of mental health, when we use the word mental health, right, the first things that come to mind are, you can shout it out. Peace, okay. Exercise. When you hear mental health on social media, like yesterday was like World Mental Health Day or something like that. What are people usually talking about? Depression, okay. Anxiety, stress, suicide. Let's do one more. Sanity, yep, insanity versus sanity, right? So now let's contrast that real quick. When we think of physical health, when someone says physical health, what are the first few things that come to our mind? Exercise, diet, weight, yep, sleep. Let's go one more. Pain, yep, nutrition is a big one, right? What you eat. So, can y'all spot the difference? What's going on here? What's the difference between the responses? Which one's negative? Mental health is negative. We're focusing on the problem, right? Depression, anxiety, suicide, blah, blah. Although some of you, mashallah, mentioned like, mindfulness or like exercise or eating. Well, when we talk about physical health, we talk about the solution, which is diet, exercise, nutrition, blah, blah. Why is there such a difference? You can toss out your thoughts. I'm just very curious. Why the difference?
Physical is when you can actually see it. Mental is something you don't see it.
You don't see it. So physical, we can observe, we can understand it more. Mental, it's kind of like, it's esoteric. You can't really focus on it, put your fingers around it. Yeah, that's one way. One more response from some of the brothers on the right. Any thoughts? Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yes. It's hard to gauge progress. It's less tangible. So my assumption is, and what I like to start these conversations with, is that we all have been duped, unfortunately. We all have been misled. Because the conversations about mental health typically involve, in the wider community, involve the word stigma. We need to reduce the stigma. Typically what people start talking about is the problem then. Oh, there are so many people who are depressed. So many people are anxious. These many people died from suicide. Oh my God, like people are addiction, blah, blah. Typically, you're not going to hear the solution. Typically. I mean, I'm not saying it's not talked about in general, but from a marketing standpoint, do you guys agree kind of where I'm going with this? On the other hand, for physical health, oftentimes people will say, do you have a personal trainer? Are you going to the gym? They'll automatically focus on the solution. Oh man, I'm like gaining so much weight. And they're like, dude, yeah, I go to work out, let's do it. When you say mental health, I'm struggling so much, it's like, yeah, I'm struggling so much too. Yeah, it's the psych so bad and I don't know what to do and blah, blah, blah. Versus like, there's a very concrete way to approach it. Make sense so far? So I mentioned this because the conversation that we want to have today is one of holistic approach. How do we understand mental health as a whole, right? Because use the word mental health, I'm gonna skip actually to the next part, is we want to first start with what is well-being from our tradition. In order to do that, we have to understand what are the components of the person from our tradition, right? Now, so we use the word mental, right? We use the word physical just now. We use the word spiritual. Now, what are the components from our tradition that refer to these things or these parts of us? Are we just a mind? Like, what are we? What are the different parts of us? We have a body, we have a jism, right? Okay, that's one. We have thoughts, and that thoughts come from where? Or where are they based out of primarily? In the mind. What's the Arabic word or the word for it? Aql, right? That's one component of it. So you've got your jism, you've got your aql. What else do we have? We have a soul, we have a ruh, right? We don't understand it fully because, like Allah has knowledge of it, but we know that's the one that came from, like Allah arwah, and it came down and we have a soul, right? Okay, soul. What else? We do have a heart. Yep, we do have qalb. Yep, we have a heart, right? There's two more pieces I'm looking for. You guys are doing really well. You're getting there. We have a nafs, exactly, right? We have a nafs, that's a very important key point. And then one more, which is debated by scholars, but I'm going to say, well, sometimes we use it. Circumstances are beyond ourselves, though. So this is more what's inside of. We have a nafs, we have a ruh, so the one that I'm referring to more is ihsas, our emotions, right? Our feelings, right? That's another world as well. So feel free to take a picture of this as you guys would like, or take notes. I can share it with Sheikh Syed. It's available on the internet. So I work with Khulul Center, so Islamic psychology is a big thing these days, mashallah. There's a lot of research, there's a lot of publication about how our tradition, so as many of you may know, the first mental health hospital actually was started in Baghdad back in almost like 860 AD, right? Almost 100 years, or within the 100 years after Prophet ﷺ passed away. So there's a deep tradition of mental health treatment within our tradition that predates anything in the modern world. And it compares really well with what modern psychology has to say as well. So I show this because when we talk about, and just to kind of add on to that, is this picture right here. So we have the aql, we have the nafs, we have the ihsas, we have the ruh. So each of them, think of it like there's a spectrum. You can be doing really well, or you can be doing terribly in it, right? Now, the problem is that sometimes we may think it's an aql issue, it might be an ihsas issue. We might think it's a ruh issue. For example, my clients typically, when they're struggling with addictive behaviors, they're like, I just gotta go pray more. I have to pray more, I have to make more dua, I have to do all of that. Which part are they focusing on here? You can say it. So, they're focusing on the ruh, right? Salah, wudu, fasting, all these things are spiritual in nature, right? They don't make logical sense, and they shouldn't be, because Allah prescribed them, and we do them, and they help our iman go up and down, right? But they're not focusing on the other things, where the problem might be more. So is this making sense so far? So this is, inshallah, one of my goals in the future. So this model was created by Khalil Center, primarily Dr. Human, Dr. Fahad, Dr. Khalid, a bunch of, mashallah, people who are, my mentors, may Allah reward them. Is the essence of it, of course, is the qalb, right? As alluded to by the ayah of the Quran that talks about, on that day, neither wealth nor money will save you, except, right? That except if you come with a sound heart, with qalb salim, right? And Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam has shared this as well, that there's a morsel of fresh flesh in the body. If that is sound, everything else is sound. If that is corrupt, everything else is corrupt. وَهِيَ qalb. That's the heart. So the idea is, these are vessels to the heart. If they're doing really well, the qalb is good, the qalb is able to focus, the qalb feels connected to Allah. But if there's some issue that's happening in somewhere, then it's going to start to slow the whole system down. For example, just to kind of illustrate the point.
I'm the one who goes to the west side.
Oh, they're in the office, okay. No worries. So for example, if I believe, right?
I used to go to school here in middle school.
That
Went to second grade.
there's a part of me that I did so many sins when I was 15. I didn't listen to my parents.
Sure,
I did that stuff. I did drugs. I was, cheating in class, so on and so forth. Let's say I'm 25 now. And, something really bad happens to me. My dad gets into a car accident and he's on life support now.
I only did 1 year.
In my mind, I'm like, oh no, this happened because I did all those sins, right? And then I'm feeling that, oh my God, Allah's really mad at me and Allah's going to punish me. And this is Allah punishing me. He doesn't like me anymore. Now, is that a very healthy thought to have? Yes or no? Why is it not healthy? You can share. It's negative thoughts. And what are they doing to the person if they're thinking Allah is now punishing me? He may be, wallahu alam, Allah knows best, but here them thinking, oh, this is Allah punishing me for all the bad things that I did. What is the impact of that negative thought on them? That could lead to some level of depression, right? It could lead to some hopelessness. So see, the problem started in the aql, right? It could go towards their feelings. It could be they're feeling down, they're feeling more sad, they're feeling more shame and feeling more guilty. Then they might be they're well, I don't even want to pray anymore. Because they're well, what's the point? I feel so. I know that's an extreme example, but you can see how it can start to now affect all of it, and their heart starts to get darker and darker. So far, so good? We're good? Okay. Now, going to the conversation today, which is the difference between spiritual and clinical depression, and we'll end up by reconnecting with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Depression, I'm not going to make this a very technical conversation. I am, I'm just like many of you are. So I'm going to keep this very simple. Because, you got to break things down. If you're explaining it to a 10-year-old, you can't use it's this neurotransmitter and serotonin and blah, blah. Throw that all out the window. Let's just make this very simple. Depression, typically speaking, is a state that is experienced by the person where they experience a set of symptoms. Set of symptoms can include loss of energy, not feeling pleasure or connected to things that they used to, feeling they're lethargic, their loss of appetite or extreme appetite, either they're sleeping too much or too little. It's a state of dis-ease, right? Not disease, dis-ease. They're just not feeling okay in themselves. Now, and it has to last a period of time. Usually they say 6 months, depending on the severity, you can label it as severe, mild, it has blah, 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 different factors to it. Now, the reason I want to define this is because we all have a level of spiritual and physical and mental and nafsi and ihsasi equilibrium that goes up and down. There's always there's a maintenance, right? For example, how many of you, you don't have, actually, I probably shouldn't say that one because it's like you don't have to disclose your sins. But how many of you have gotten upset in the last 1 week at anything? Okay. How many of you feel like that was kind of like normal? It happens. Was it normal? Yeah, it happens, right? Well, whatever, it happens. How many of you got very, what's the word, excited and were very happy about something within the last week for events? It was really good, yeah, right? Was that within the range of normal? Like these things happen, you got a good score, you got a raise at work, your kid came up and smiled at you and said, I love you, Baba. All these things can make us all smile. There's a range that's normal, right? And we all experience this, and this is healthy. And that's not necessarily what we would call depression. It's important to divide the two, right? If you're feeling a low, but you're feeling a high tomorrow, that's the nature of life, right? The challenge is if there's a big dip and it's continuing over a course of time. For example, if I feel connected to Allah today, I was driving here and, I was about to turn this light, but then I couldn't, and I kept going, and then 2 seconds later, I hear, and I'm like, oh God, I dodged that, whoa, subhanAllah, Allah save me. If I had taken that turn, that truck would have, God forbid, something would have happened, right? Are you going to feel really close to Allah, I would imagine, after that, right? Like, alhamdulillah. And alhamdulillah for that, because Allah is looking out for us. Now, for example, many of us may feel like, I was really hoping to get this raise, or I was really hoping I'll talk to my parents about going on this retreat, or I was really hoping that at work, my proposal was going to get accepted, but it gets rejected, right? And sometimes we feel a little down after that. We're like, oh, Ya Allah, oh man, I know you're looking out, but man, I was really hoping for this. I was really going for this, but I didn't get it. We feel a little down, right? So even from an Iman perspective, it goes up and down, naturally, as we all know. And if you don't, that's the normative part. Even the Sahaba would come to Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam with this, right? That they would say, Ya Allah, Ya Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, when we are with you, when you're in your majalis, we feel this very heightened state of Iman. But when we go back to our families and our work, we don't feel the same way. And that is then reassured by Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam as a normative thing that happens. I'm talking more about that I haven't prayed in a while. I haven't talked to Allah in a while. I don't feel the closeness that I once did from Allah. And I feel this disconnect from Him, right? So physical depression or clinical depression may be that I don't want to do things, but I still feel like I'm connected to Allah. Spiritual depression is where I am feeling distant from Allah. I don't find the same zest in connecting with Allah as I once did, right? But this is important because it's not like I was doing, if you're always been that way, that's a different story. That's where maybe I just need to connect with Allah more. I just never did. This is where I have connected with Allah in the past. I have felt very spiritually elevated and very connected, but now consistently I feel this disconnect, this distance. I long to connect to Allah, but something stops me. I don't know what it is. I don't know what to do about it, but it keeps happening, it keeps happening, it keeps happening, right? That's where it's more of a spiritual depression. Does that make sense so far? The differences, right? And this is where I encourage all of you to use this model as a means of self-evaluation, right? And let me give you the ideas, and then we'll go to the last part, which is what does it mean to reconnect with Allah? For example, and I want to create that's why, inshallah, I want to work on the book with some of my mentors, because typically this is used as a therapeutic modality. As therapists, we use this to help the client understand, hey, where's the problem at? Right? Okay, it seems like you have some cognitive distortions, you have some negative beliefs about Allah, maybe we need to take care of those. Or maybe you don't know, when you get really upset, you don't know how to handle it. You go into rage, you start breaking things, you don't know how to handle it. And that then makes you feel worse. And that then makes you feel like, oh, I am hopeless and my wife's going to leave me and bad things are going to happen in my life. Right? So you see how our job is to do that. But now you can do it as well. Just self-evaluate and be honest with yourself about it. Like, for example, in the Rouhani arena, right? There's two aspects to this. We'll talk about the second aspect. Am I doing my ritualistic practices? Ritualistic meaning, am I making my salah? And if you're making your faraid, am I making my sunan? At least my sunnat al-muwakkada, right? My 12. Am I reading Quran every day? Am I doing my extra supererogatory, actions? Am I following the sunnah? Am I fasting during Ramadan? Am I doing X, Y, and Z? That's an easy list. Typically, we all know. Like, oh, when people get religious, I should fast, so on and so forth. For example, now for the aql, do I have negative thoughts about myself? Do I feel, there's three domains, sorry. There's self. Do I have negative thoughts about myself? Do I feel like I'm not really worth much? No one really thinks I'm really that great of a person. I feel like I'm a bad person. No, there's a difference between like honest self-evaluation, like I do a lot of bad things and I should probably do better. Sure, good. This is more like I do good things, but I still feel like a bad person. What's up with that? Right? That's an unhealthy way of looking at yourself, and that's going to cause problems. Number two, how do I look at other people? Do I feel like other people are good? They look out for me. They will reach out to me. If I reach out to them, they'll connect with me. Or do I feel like people don't really care about me? People don't really look out for me. I'm only kind of doing things on my own. People aren't good. They'll take advantage of me. Like, these kind of things will poison you in some ways. And then number three, about the world and Allah in general. Is the world a very scary place where bad things happen? Is the world a place where, you go out and the world's going to eat you alive? I mean, some of the programming we hear from parents sometimes, which is like our students hear it as well, which is, hey, like right now you're in school, it's easy, but when you get in the real world, it's a dog-eat-dog world and you're going down. It's like, is it though? Isn't that bad though? It's probably not as bad as we make it out to be. I know we're trying to scare them into doing well in school, but really though, chill out. But the point being that it's one of those things that we need to keep in mind, like what is our idea about the world and about ourselves, and how is that negatively affecting me, right? Make sense about the aql? Okay, we're going to move to the nafs real quick. Do I find myself indulging excessively in things that I know I shouldn't? Now, this could even be food. This could even be I'm working too much. Like, I know I want to spend more time with the wife and the kids, but man, like that extra, if I just do these 3 extra hours, it'll be like an extra grand, and then, I can use that to go to vacation or something like that. If that's a one-time thing, sure. But if it's a consistent thing, maybe it's not about the family anymore. Maybe it's about the money, it's about the work, right? Do I find it hard if every time I go to the grocery store that I have to get like a packet of like gummy bears or peanuts or something that I have to eat? Now again, that doesn't mean all of it is bad. This is like ihsan. I'm not saying it's a bad thing. I'm saying ask yourself the question, can I say no to it? And if you can, great. You're like, hey, I'll get it once a week. I'll get it twice a week. But if every time I have to do this, I have to, and if I try to stop myself, it is so hard for me. This also then goes into sins, right? Do I find myself compulsively using social media? Can I not, do I feel like I have to keep my phone in my hand? Otherwise I can't be okay, right? Am I able to sit with uncomfortable things in my life? Meaning, can I, what's the word I'm looking for? Can I push myself to do hard things without shutting down? Can I push myself to do difficult things without giving up, without thinking I can't do it, and then I'm just going to not do it at all? Like, where's my nafs at? Is my nafs in alignment with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and His will for me, or is my nafs running the show here? And one of the ways to gauge that is like, how am I inclined to do good or bad, and how easy does it come for me, and then we can work on it. And lastly is the ihsas, right? Do I understand my emotions at all? Do I even know what their purpose is? Do I think emotions are a bad thing? Do I think they're a weakness? Do I know how to feel them? Do I know how to express them? All these different things are part of this core picture. That these are self-assessments for you, for each and every one of you. When you're doing your muhasabah, now if all three areas, aql, nafs, ihsas, are doing great, and ruh is the only one that you're feeling disconnected from, then we can call it a spiritual depression, naturally, because I'm doing all these different things, but I'm just not feeling connected to Allah. Okay, let's talk about what that means. But typically you're going to find that there's elements from each four areas that are playing a part in it. Oh, I'm not feeling connected to Allah because, like me and my wife, we're going through difficulties, or, I just failed this exam, and I just, I work so hard, and I feel like my friends don't look out for me. And you see how there's a story? It starts to connect the dots in all these different areas. And that's important, because then you need to go change them. If you're holding a resentment towards someone, for example, like, oh man, like, my friend, I was hoping he would send me a happy birthday wish, but he didn't. I can let go of it, but I can also be like, hey, that kind of hurt me a little bit. Or like, I said that we were going to meet at 8 o'clock, but then someone ghosted me. I was talking to this girl for marriage, and then she just kind of left me on red and kind of dipped. These things can all start weighing on a person. So they need to be taken care of. So far, so good. Any questions so far? Yes. So what kind of self?
Like, sometimes people think that there's something wrong with me because that's why I'm not able to do anything.
That's more of a belief. So that's an aqlani thing. That's how I see myself, how I think about myself. So that's more of an aqlani thing. And that's when they can then influences their behavior. Because they're like, well, I can't do it, so I'm not going to do it. So that's more an aql thing, yes.
What is the difference between aql and nafs?
So aql so typically aql is our cognitions, you can think, our mind, the way we think about things, the way we understand the world. Nafs is the way, so the easiest way that I explain the nafs is like, you're the rider, your nafs is your horse, right? So you're the one who are supposed to be in control. Like, nafs, go here. The nafs is of two parts. I don't want to get into too much detail. I mean, Sheikh Syed can talk to you more about it. So typically they say that there's two types of nafs. There's what they call nafs. Well, that's true, actually. There's different types of what we would call quwwa, types of souls, essentially. There's a ruh haywani, which is an animalistic ruh, and it feeds the nafs, basically. That's kind of like animals are driven by pleasure, animals are driven by avoiding pain, right? Maximizing pleasure, minimizing pain. It's a very animalistic thing to do. We have the same, right? The thing is, so that's the horse that is going to give us the energy to do things. We can't deprive ourselves so badly that it's like the animal who's like so deprived, and then he's like, I just want to go to the water and drink all of it, right? That's where all or nothing comes in, when we deprive ourselves. When we control the nafs, we want to take care of its rights on us. But if we overindulge, give it too much, just like an animal, it's going to be the cat that's like, I want more food, I want more food. Or children, like you give them like, oh, you can stay up and play your PS5 all day long. The next day, are they going to be like, thank you so much? That was like, oh, so good. They're going to be irritable, they're going to be angry, and they're going to try and exert more control and say, no, I want to do it again. You let me do it yesterday, oh! And you have to control it, pull it back. But if you never give them the PS5 or never give them something fun to do, they're going to be deprived. They're going to start hiding things. They're going to go and find things, blah, blah. The nafs will start to dominate and start to take control again. So you have to have a balance. Does that make sense? So the aql is the rationale that Allah has given us. Like, when we talk about like tadabbur, we talk about tafakkur. Like think about, reflect on the world that's around us, reflect on what's going on with you, reflect on Allah's qualities. All that is the aql. The nafs is, think of it as the life force that's going to propel you to do some of these things. But that's where you got to manage it. Make sense? And I know there's stages like nafsul lawwama, nafsul mutmainna, nafsul amara bisu. The idea is we want to be able to get to a nafs that is content with Allah's will for it, right? And that's nafsul mutmainna, the mutmainna, the tranquil self, right? But most of us find ourselves in nafsul lawwama, which is like the reproaching, that back and forth, and how can we navigate that? Make sense? Okay, so I want to get to the last part. This is the crux of our conversation for today. See, for whatever reason, and there's some reasons, and I'll talk about this, and you can put your pens down for this, or you can keep your pens on, it's okay. There's an idea that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in the Quran, actually that's incorrect. Let me correct that. It's not, O mankind, O man. It's, Ya ayyuhal insan. It's a singular. Ma gharraka bi rabbikal kareem. What has, typically the translation goes, what has deceived you? What has taken you away from your Lord, who's the generous one, Al-Kareem? And I think most of us find ourselves struggling with this because Allah gave us life. Allah gave us the families that we have. Allah also gave us the difficulties that we have that has made us who we are today. I often, when people ask the question, well, why do bad things happen in the world? Like one of the simplest examples that and there's, our fuqaha and our teachers extensively talk about it. Even people's normal example, when we look at superheroes, typically, most of them don't have the easiest backgrounds. They've had tragedy in their life, and that tragedy then pushes them forward to do well in their life, serve other people because they know what the pain is like. Typically, people don't just do good things because they want to do good things. Let's just be honest about it. People just don't. Now, inshallah, Allah guides us to do good things because it's the right thing to do. But when we go through struggle, Allah crafts us into who He wants us to be. The problem is we are increasingly feeling more and more disconnected from Allah. Right? We're feeling like we can't talk to Allah. We can't connect with Him. We don't feel like He's there for us as much as we would like it to be. And that's the other part of the Ruhani part. It's like being in a classroom. You do all the exams. You're an A-star student, but you're like, yeah, but I don't really like school. I don't really care about this. I'm just doing it because of X, Y, and Z reason. Versus, I love school. Oh my God, I can't stop talking about this topic. And the molecules and then the isotopes and da-da-da-da. You nerd, you really love this stuff. So within the Ruhani part, there's the ritual worship, salah, zakah, hajj, siyam, and all those different things. Then there's how close do I feel to Allah Himself? Do I have a relationship with Allah? Do I think that Allah is the one who sent these difficulties in my life, and how do I make sense of that? Do I think that Allah is the one that gave me these hands that I'm doing all these things with? The healthy things, good things as well. How much do I feel like Allah is present in my life? And that, I believe, there's not enough of a conversation or enough of a focus on sometimes, and we struggle with that. As to how do we connect with Allah? We are told that Allah is the one who's given us everything, but yet we feel disconnected from Him, right? And that is what I would like to focus on for the rest of today. I know there's only a few minutes left. Actually, hold on one second. There's many reasons for that, and we can talk about it, right? Whether it's prior conditioning, we feel like there's a transactional relationship with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. We feel like if we do good, Allah's going to give us good. If we do bad, Allah's going to give us bad, which is, a very skewed understanding, almost like a very transactional relationship with Allah, and that's really not how this works, right? Because if someone's they're a good person, they didn't cheat anyone, and someone cheats them, Ya Allah, I've done good by everybody my entire life. How could you do this to me? Wait, so Allah owed you now? Wait, let me get this straight. So you see how there's a level of arrogance goodness can even come. Oh, I've stayed away from bad things. All these people were doing, they were drinking, they were talking to girls. I wasn't doing any of that. But yet bad things happened to me. Why? Right? Versus, I know that Allah is crafting a journey for me, specifically for me. How can I lean into that? But we can't do that unless we know Allah. We can't do that unless we talk to Allah. We can't do that unless we have a relationship with Him. It's like having a father who's never there for you but always sends you money. And you're like, well, I don't want this crap. I don't want this. Or you take it, but you're like, I don't care about him though. Right? Versus, I talk to him every day. He's there for me. He smiles at me. He's there for me when I'm struggling. He's there for me when it's my happy moments, and I know he's going to walk with me. Do we feel that way about Allah? That's the personal reflection here. And there's, again, all these reasons, individualism, social media use, AI chats, constant internet usage. We just feel disconnected from everything. I just want to do 2 exercises today on how to connect back with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. One, and everybody, you can do this yourself, because it's a focus. It's like where our attention goes, our mindset is going to go. So, what has Allah given me? Again, this is individual. What has Allah given me that I never asked for in my entire life? Never ever. But Allah gave it to me anyway. So think about it. And I'll do the same. Let's give it like 30 seconds. And it's a positive thing, not a negative thing. Okay. Anyone want to share? Everything what we have. So, and specific to you, can you be particular about one thing for you in your life? Good health. Now, did you make dua for good health at any point? Sometimes, yeah. But he still gave it to you, right? So, alhamdulillah. I mean, you made dua for it and he gave it to you. Alhamdulillah for that. And may Allah continue to give you good health. Anyone else? One more. That you didn't think that you were making acts of dua for, but Allah still gave it to you. Family. In particular? No, for you in your life. Like you didn't make any dua for a spouse or kids, but you got amazing ones. Okay. Alhamdulillah. Yeah, so Allah granted it to you. It was the luck of the cards, and Allah made it so that it was beautiful. And may Allah increase you in that. Jazakallah khair for sharing. We'll do one more. Water. What about water makes it so that you never asked for it, but it's a blessing?
The fact that I never had to actively look for water.
Yeah.
If that happened, I couldn't do it.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I mean, that's very accurate. Thank you for sharing. Now, we're going to flip the switch a little bit. What is a challenge or a difficulty? A trial or tribulation that Allah gave you that you never asked for? So this is a little different, and you don't have to share, but please do reflect on it. Intellectually disabled child. Yeah. And what about it is challenging?
He's fully dependent on me.
Mm-hmm.
He can't do anything on his own.
Yes.
So I have to think about him. I have to protect him.
Yes.
Take care of everything about him.
Yes. No, thank you for sharing, and may Allah reward you for that. But yes, that is certainly a test and a trial. And the others, I'll give you 10 seconds to think about it. I'm thinking about it myself. Okay. Anyone want to share? One more person. You don't have to, because I know this is tricky. So for me, I'll share. I never asked to be a therapist. I wanted to be like a game designer, or my dad wanted me to be a doctor. Somehow, like I look back, I'm like, I had no recollection. I had no idea about this. I didn't even know this profession existed. And subhanAllah, Allah got me here. And then the trial part, of course, it's more private, so we'll keep it. The reason I share this is because, I remember in the world of recovery when I was working in there was a sister who had a relapse and shared something there, like at the end of her reflection, after like many years of sobriety, she shared that, I didn't ask for this, but neither did I ask for the food that I ate this morning. I'm in Allah's hands, alhamdulillah. I trust that wherever Allah is taking me is for my betterment, and I'm going to trust him that there's some khair in this, whether in this world or the next, and we're going to move forward. This helps us see it's an open, vast idea that Allah is giving us a lot in our lives, but it's coming from him. The idea of our belief that all good and bad, whatever we consider bad, comes from Allah. Now, number 2, I'd like for us to do a little surrender today. I know we got to wrap up because Maghrib's going to start and people got to grab chai. But a surrender is an activity, it's labeled that way. It's technically dua. It's not really that different. But the reason I call it surrender, or some people call it surrender, is that we are pausing in a space where we cannot be disturbed and just imagining that we are in front of Allah and then really exposing our neediness to him. All of the issues that we have, we're just spilling our guts basically in front of him. So we can't do like a full surrender here because that's an individual thing that you can do on your own when you're in your... But an example of which would be, what I would encourage everyone to do for the next minute, I'm going to set a timer for this, I'll set a timer for a minute, is sit, put your head down, not like all the way to the ground, but just like, and try to imagine that you are sitting in front of Allah. And just notice what's coming up and try not to get distracted. Try to sit in the feeling for a little bit. So we're going to do a minute. So it might be a little uncomfortable, but let's roll with it. So imagine, you're trying to do your best to imagine that you're sitting in front of Allah. Set a timer for 1 minute. What feelings or sensations came up? For those of you who are open to sharing, what feelings came up or any sensations? I'm tearing up, so. Fear came up. What else came up? Guilt. Mm-hmm. The idea of accountability. One more. Regret. And that's usually how it starts because Allah knows it all. And usually people are like, oh my God, all these things that I've done wrong and that I know of, but I know Allah knows it too. The second piece of this that I'd like for all of you to do this, because this is the worst place to end the exercise, but I know we're running out of time, is then you share that with Allah directly. And you talk about how Allah knows this all, that Allah is the one who knows everything. He is the one, actually no, sorry. We talk about our deficiencies first, which is what's coming up for most of us. We've done something wrong, we cheated in a business transaction, we said something about our spouses, we yelled at our kid, all of these things. And Ya Allah, that's when we are zipping and we're just spilling our guts out. Ya Allah, you know this, I did this, and I'm struggling with it, and this, that, or the other, and you know all of this. The second piece of it is using the names of Allah, or just Allah, like, but Ya Allah, you're the only one I can turn to for this. It's like the coming home idea. It's like me turning to my parents. It's like, well, I'm not going to turn away from Allah. I'm going to lean in. Because Ya Allah, you're the only one who can do anything about this for me. You're the only one I can turn to. You're the only one who understands better than I ever will. And then all of that, say as much as you need to. And then the last thing is, Ya Allah, I'm going to give it to you. I'm going to surrender this malady of mine, or this issue of mine, or my own shame about, my own guilt that's holding me back. I'm going to give it to you to take care of, because you're the one who can take care of everything. And there's inshallah, a peace that comes from that, because we feel so connected and we let it go and we give it to Allah to handle. So even if it's my kids, it's my spouse, it's a potential, girlfriend, boyfriend, whatever, like spouse, meaning like your courtship, whether it's work, we're struggling with, or ourselves, we feel like we've done so much bad that we can't do anything about it. Ya Allah, I feel like I'm like the worst person on the face of the earth and it's really holding me back. Ya Allah, I'm going to give it to you. You take care of it for me, because I know I can't. But I know you can. So again, surrender is pause and sit in front of Allah. Number 2, tell him whatever is coming up, all the guilt and all the spill it out, because there's nowhere else to go. Number 3, acknowledge Allah's power in taking care of all of these things, because we believe that, but make it explicit. Tell him. Use your own words like, Ya Allah, you're Al-Kareem, you're the most generous, you're Al-Wakil, you can handle, you're the best trustee of all of my affairs. Whatever word that resonates with you in that particular context. And then number 4, Ya Allah, I'm going to give it to you. You handle it, because I can't. And I know I can't. I know for sure I can't, but I know for sure you can. So that can improve our understanding in our relationship with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, because inshallah the ritual stuff is there and make sure you do it. But doing this more, inshallah, will combine the two in a way where your salah can also start to become more based in khushu', your dua becomes more powerful, and then you're able to feel more connected. With that, Jazakallahu khair for giving me the opportunity. I apologize for anything that was said that was hurtful or that was incorrect. But if you have any questions, please let me know. Jazakallahu khair. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah.